theme for May is divine doubt. Today's topic is doubt as devotion, questioning as an act of love. Poet Lord Alfred Tennyson supports our topic in these words. There lives more faith in honest doubt, believe me, than in half the creeds. Paul Tillich puts it this way: doubt isn't the opposite of faith, it is an element of faith. And finally, Ernest Holmes, who encourages students to use questions and deepen faith, wrote, "True teaching liberates the student from his teacher." Let's affirm together. Love is the foundation of my questions and curiosities. Now please welcome Reverend Kathleen Johnson.
There we go. So this topic this month has really taken us on a journey of beginning to understand how life is truly for us in all ways, including our doubts. So I'd like to begin with a story of a teacher who was circulating through her class as they were doing drawings, and she came upon this little girl, and she said to the little girl, "Well, what is it that you're drawing, honey?" And she said, "Oh, I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But honey, nobody knows what God looks like." And she said, "You will in 2 minutes." So that kind of certainty, that kind of faith, I know is what we're all working toward and evolving towards. And that is what is so interesting to me and has been so interesting to me about this month, is that when we learn to embrace doubt and uncertainty and questioning as part of our spiritual journey, we are allowing ourselves to go deeper. We're staying open at the top, which is Ernest Holmes' concept. Well, it's not his concept, it's his wording of a concept that's been around for a long time. Keeping our hearts and our minds open to new inspirations and new insights, while still grounded in spiritual principles and practices. So that is the journey of each and every one of us. And isn't it a relief to realize that my doubts, my uncertainties are okay? They're part of my journey? I mean, to me, that is awesome. That is awesome. We can stop judging ourselves. So I'd like to share another story. Imagine there is a man who is driving down 95, and all of a sudden his check engine light comes on. And it's like glaring at him. And so he tries to ignore it, and he keeps driving, and it keeps catching his attention and distracting him. And he turns up the music. He does everything he can to get his mind off of it. And he says, "Oh, it's probably nothing. Sometimes these lights malfunction," and so on. So finally, he remembers, "I have duct tape in my glove compartment." So he pulls out the duct tape and he puts the duct tape over the sign. There, that takes care of it. I don't have to worry about this anymore. It's not annoying me. Done. So he keeps driving. Well, several days later, he's driving along merrily, and all of a sudden the engine sputters and the car comes to a halt. So why am I telling you this story? Because doubt is like that. If we don't address it and give attention to it, then and we try to cover it over with spiritual platitudes. It's all good, it's all God. Those are really good statements, but when we use it to cover up our doubts without the investigation piece, investigating what is the root of it, what's the root cause in consciousness, or maybe there's something going on in the world that we need to do something about. The bottom line is that when we have that warning sign of doubt and we ignore it, we'll pay the consequences of it. And also, we won't be able to deepen into our divine nature the way we could otherwise. And here's the thing. When we realize that doubt is not our enemy, it's not the enemy of faith, and it's a signal of what needs attention, we begin to understand that it is a sacred act of love. It's a sacred act of love for building a healthy, living faith instead of a faith that we just inherit from our ancestors. We are involved in it, and therefore it's much more meaningful, and we can own it. So I have another story for you, and I'm titling it Wrestling for the Blessing. So in the book Genesis, there's a teaching story. These stories are teaching stories and up for interpretation. So let's take a look at this story. It's a story of two twin brothers, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob deceived Esau in order to steal the family blessing. Esau was enraged, and Jacob fled for his life. Well, over the years, Jacob built a really good life for himself, family, possessions, and so on. But he could feel the call that it was time to go back and do his best to reconcile with his brother. So he brought his whole family, possessions, servants, everything. They were on the road, and suddenly he gets word that his brother is coming in their direction to meet him with 400 men. And so he immediately goes into a panic, and he decides to send his family and the possessions and everything across the river, and he spends the night. It's in the darkness, total darkness, with his fears, just haunted by his fears of what might happen with his brother, his guilt over what he did in the past. All of it just swirling around and very uncomfortable. And suddenly a stranger appears. And he ends up having to wrestle with this stranger all night long. And the Bible never says who the stranger is. So this is where the interpretation gets to come in. Well, he ends up victorious, and the next day he's blessed. There's a blessing. And he gets a new name. He's no longer Jacob. He's now Israel. And look at the meaning. And this is the beauty of the metaphysical teachings. The meaning of Israel is one who strives and prevails with God. One who strives and prevails with God. So the blessings continue. And so when Esau shows up, Esau opens his arms, they hug, and they weep in the reconciliation of it. Beautiful teaching story about the value, to me, the value of wrestling. Well, wrestling. I know that's not exactly what we're not teaching struggle and strife here, but the idea of meeting and facing, it can be a struggle to face our doubts and to face our fears. There's a tendency to want to run from it. So there can be a sense of a struggle, and yet when we do, blessings are possible. New possibilities, a more open heart, so that we can accept the love and give the love with those around us. So let's experience that. let's move from theory right into practice, right into experience. So I'm going to invite you to turn within and breathe. And either close your eyes, or if you're not comfortable with that, just gaze softly down at the floor. And let the breath take you deeper and deeper into your heart. Just notice the breath as your chest rises and falls. Breathing love. Inhaling love. Exhaling love. Feeling the sweetness of love's presence. And so from that vantage point, I'm going to invite you to allow a doubt or an uncertainty arise. It may be something about yourself, a relationship, maybe the political situation. Whatever that doubt, uncertainty, or question that you have, let it rise up into your awareness, glancing upon it with love. And notice where it sits in your body. Where are you feeling it? So we're not doing spiritual bypass. We're allowing ourselves to feel and to notice. And then as you do that, I'm going to read this beautiful quote to you by the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, who advises, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves." So turn this doubt into a question, something like, what am I to learn from this doubt? How am I to grow from this doubt? Pose the question. And let's say to the question, I see you. I love you. You are welcome here. Let the question guide you deep into your heart. What am I to learn from this doubt? And let it be washed in love and divine wisdom. Let go of the need to have the answer this moment. Trust that it will arise in its divine timing. Breathe. Relax. Trust. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to the room. So Ernest Holmes was deeply passionate about building and cultivating faith. Our form of prayer, spiritual mind treatment, is designed for that. It's designed to build faith. There is only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now, is kind of the essence of it. And then using the creative power of your word. So there's a divine design to guide us. He says, there is no one who believes more in faith, more in prayer, and more in the necessity of the divine will being done than one who practices daily the science of mind. In this science of faith, we are seeking to uncover a definite technique, there's spiritual mind treatment, that will conduct our minds through a process of thought to a deeper faith. Isn't that beautiful? So there's that one aspect of doubt, building stronger faith, building a practical living faith. Then there's another aspect that Eckhart Tolle brings forward. He says, as you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. I'm going to read that again. As you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. That's a powerful statement. So again, inviting us to become comfortable with our doubts, with our uncertainties, and using them for our spiritual evolution. So deeper faith, infinite possibilities. Wow. So in visioning, we're going to be doing community visioning soon, in this process called visioning. This is a way to deepen our connection to the field of all possibilities, infinite possibilities that respond to the questions that we place within ourselves. So when we ask a question, what is Spirit's or love's highest idea of the Center for Spiritual Living Delaware Beloved Community? What we're doing is we are opening our hearts, making ourselves available to that which is ready to rise up and inform us, and then carry us on to the next expression of our community. It's a really powerful form of spiritual practice that we use here regularly, and we're going to be now inviting the whole community to do this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what arises from our collective. It's kind of exciting to see what's going to happen next. And it means that those of us who've been around for a long while and have seen things a certain way are open, and we're living in that uncertainty, in that sense of uncertainty, that sense of questioning. What's going to happen next? We did all this work to come up with these beautiful statements and so on and so forth, and our values. And yet what I know is happening is it's not going to be a subtraction, it's going to be an adding on that's going to happen, because that's how it works. It's like an evolution of what has come before. So a practical faith, infinite possibilities, and then the other piece that I want to leave you with is that our questions also notice needs that we have personally and in the world, and it also helps us question the status quo when it doesn't seem to be working. Other spiritual traditions also value inquiry. And one great example is Buddhism. So the Buddha very clearly instructs students not to accept teachings at face value, not to accept them merely because they're traditional, because a revered teacher spoke them, or because it's in the scripture. He invites all of his students to examine the teachings themselves and ask themselves questions like, does this idea harm? Does it lead to harm, or does it lead to liberation? So that is what I'm leaving all of you with, is it whatever I am questioning, is it leading to harm, or is it liberating me and liberating others? Beautiful questions to reside in. So certainty then can be a cage. We've learned that, and we've seen that in people who are, it's my way, and this is the truth, and there's no other truth, and so on and so forth. So certainty can, faith, yes, we're working toward faith, but total certainty can be a cage that closes off new insights, fresh possibilities, and deeper love. So let us use doubt as a warning signal, like the check engine light. A warning signal that it's time to go deeper. It's time to listen within. It's time to question And it's time to then, as we deepen into that question and listen, it may be time to change our beliefs. It may be time to take new actions. And it may just simply be time to form a deeper connection with the source within. So I'm going to invite us to turn within in prayer. So there is one presence, one life, one power that I call God, Spirit, love, intelligence. And I'm aware that that presence, being omnipresence, all that is the source of all that exists. And that means my source. That means I am that life, that presence, that power, individualized. And so are each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. And all the attributes and the qualities of that presence reside within each and every one of us. The brilliance, the intelligence, the wisdom. And so what I am knowing to be true about each and every one of us in the spiritual community is that we have the courage to face the warning light of doubt, of uncertainty, and to see it as part of our spiritual path that takes us deeper and deeper and deeper into our true nature, into a true and felt connection with all that is. I know that each and every one of us are abundantly blessed, and that this is a safe container of spiritual community in which we can question, in which we can be authentic, in which we can share our doubts. Yes, in absolute safety and full support. And so my heart is just bursting with gratefulness. Gratefulness for this divine revelation of how everything in its own way is for us, for our spiritual evolution. And I'm also grateful for knowing that this word is creation itself unfolding, and therefore must come back fulfilled. And therefore now at this point in time, I release this word into the universal law of mind, divine mind, that responds and takes it up and brings it into manifestation. And for this, I am so grateful. And I invite all of us to accept it with a profound yes, and so it is. Thank you, my friends. Okay, and Ginger is ready to bless us again with music.
Okay, this is one of my own songs. This is called Peace, Poise, Power. And the part that you'll sing at the end is just peace, poise, power, and God's love keeps me still. Sometimes doubt can take us to a place of where we just need to remember who we are, you know.